Hi class, this is Mrs. Rowe. I am here to talk to you about your Unit 1 Characterization Summative. You have two choices for your summative, and before I talk to you about both of those, I just want to remind you that summatives are 70% of your grade. So when you're working on your summative, you want to show your best work and make your best effort. These are end of learning summatives, so you are to show that you understand the targets that we've been going over and our 7.4.1.1 standard. So you're going to be choosing between two options. One of them is a character analysis essay, and the other one is a poster, kind of a body poster. So I'm going to be showing you the two different types, and I'm going to talk to you about each of them in depth. So it's important that you listen to both types before making your selection. The first option you have is the character analysis essay. This essay is where you are going to choose a character, and it could be any character of your choice, and you're going to demonstrate your understanding of the character. You're going to consider the character's perspective, why they do the things they do, how they shape the story, and how their character traits are developed in the story. It's a multiple paragraph essay. It has to include 5 different paragraphs. It's going to need to have an introduction paragraph, and this is where you have an attention-getting device and background information about the story and your thesis statement about the character. Then it's going to need 3 body paragraphs, and each paragraph is very specifically laid out on your assignment. The first body paragraph is the best way to describe the character's personality. So this is you picking out a character trait and then using specific evidence from the story to make sure you can support that trait. Then you're thinking about that same character in the second body paragraph, and you're thinking about how their decisions and their actions affect the plot. And you're going to discuss how their personality might affect what they do and what happens in the story. And the third body paragraph is taking that same character, and you're going to think about how the author showed the character's differing perspectives. So maybe you're going to explain how the different perspectives and or what the different perspectives they have on different things that are happening. For example, Cherry has a different perspective about certain things than maybe Ponyboy, and Ponyboy has a different perspective than Johnny, and Johnny has a different perspective than Dally. So they all have different perspectives on different topics. So you're going to show evidence and elaborate on why the author shows different perspectives, okay? And again, that's the third body paragraph. And then you have a conclusion paragraph, and in your conclusion paragraph, this is where you're going to want to make sure you include you restate your thesis statement in a new way, you sum up your 3 body paragraphs, and you leave your readers with a lasting thought. Now, it's really important that you remember that you can ask for feedback from peers 2 times, and I'm going to give you feedback forms, or I'll have feedback forms in the room, and you can share your essay with a peer. It's important that you choose somebody very carefully because you don't want to waste those 2 times that you can share. And then they're going to fill out the feedback form for you. Remember, no one should be modifying your work, not your mom, not your dad, not your siblings, just you. They can give you feedback and talk to you about it, but only you should be working on your essay and modifying your work. You can also ask for feedback from me. However, to do that, you're going to need to fill out a coaching form and schedule some time with me during class when we have work time, when I'm not working with other students, or you can come in after school or another time. So you can see me with information about that. The scoring is on the back of this sheet. This is also in Google Classroom. You can see a 4 and a 3 are the exceeds, and 3 is a meets. Progressing, that's when you are not meeting the standard. So your grade will be reflected on different parts of your essay, the body paragraphs, and then your ability to elaborate. If you're missing any parts of this, I can't grade it, and that falls under a failing grade. So you must answer the prompts to complete the assessment, so you can't change it and decide you're going to answer something completely different. Some tips: make sure that you are choosing your character wisely. If you don't know a lot about the character and say, but I really want to choose this character, well, yeah, choose carefully. Because if you don't have a lot of information about them and you just like the thought of doing something about them, but you can't come up with anything about them, then choose a different character. If you can't figure out traits about that character, then that's obviously not a good one either. Then it goes into how to set up your introduction, body, and conclusion. Remember to use sentence structure and careful word choices. You have lots of really great choices on the back of your characterization chart. Use transitional words to help your reader follow your thinking. These are words like first, second, and third. And vary your sentence length and structure. Choose your peers to give you honest feedback. If they're going to say, yeah, this is a great paper, and they don't give you any feedback, and then you turn it in and say to me, well, you're saying it's a D paper, but my peer said it's great. Well, did you choose a peer that's going to give you honest feedback, or actually take the time to really read through your paper? So think about that as well. So that's the first choice. You have another choice here. So the second choice is the character body biography. And this assignment is also worth 70% of the category. And this is a visual assignment. So this is a visual portrait illustrating various aspects of a character's life through the use of pictures, symbols, words, and phrases. It requires a deep understanding of a character. You need to consider the character's decisions, the reactions of others, and the perspectives that your character holds. The character's growth and change over time in the novel. So you're going to either create a computerized or paper poster analyzing one character from your novel. If you choose this, you can do it on the Chromebook. Remember that you are going to be generating this. Okay, so it has to be something you make. The goal of this assessment is not to depict on how you imagine the person looks. In other words, you do not draw your mental visualization of the character. Rather, you will represent the attributes of the character in an alternative creative way, and it does require an abstract representation of one of the characters from your novel. So the visual representation of the character, and this, you have to think about appearance and how your work looks in the end. It shouldn't be sloppy and messy and hard to read. You're going to have to think about how it's going to be put together so it's placed in a way that it's easy to read and easy to follow. So it has 3 sections on it. You have a section that identifies a character trait the text uses to describe your character. You're going to provide textual evidence to support your character trait. You're going to explain why you believe the trait is important for the character. And maybe you'll have some words that have that trait, and then maybe you'll have some images that also are included. You infer a character trait you believe strongly represents your chosen character. So you're going to provide textual evidence to support your trait and explain why you believe that trait is important. And again, you can include some visuals with that. And you're going to infer a prediction or conclusion you believe is accurate for this character. So provide textual evidence you believe supports this prediction or conclusion. You need to make sure you're explaining, because that's a huge part of this, is explaining why this evidence supports your thoughts. And again, you can also ask for feedback 2 times from peers. What I would recommend doing is that you have one version of a layout before you put a lot of work into it, and then get feedback, and then you can move things around easily before it gets to be too cumbersome. Each time your peer gives you feedback, it has to be on the feedback form. And remember that only you can modify your work. Nobody else can. You cannot ask somebody else to write things or draw things on your picture. It has to be from you. You can ask for feedback from me. And again, you have to fill out a coaching form and schedule a coaching session. These fill up fast, so make sure you're doing that. Same thing for grading here. You have to make sure that you are either exceeding or meeting. If you're exceeding, you're meeting all of the traits over in the plus section, and if you're meeting, you're in this section. If you're below, you're just not meeting the standard, and then you're in the number 1 category. There's some tips down here, thinking about planning your paper, also thinking about the placement, not paper, your poster. This can be done on slides in Google Slides or another app that you can think of. It just has to be able to be shared with me. Color is important, words, images that you think might go along with what you're presenting. That would be great. All right. So remember that the big piece of this summative is being able to cite several pieces of textual evidence to support analysis of what the text says explicitly, as well as inferences drawn from the text. So you're thinking about explicit information as well as implicit information. And we're going to talk more about that tomorrow, but these are things that we've been focused on the last few weeks. We want to make sure that you can demonstrate this target or this standard right here. This is what we're going for. If you have any questions, see Mrs. Rowe. Otherwise, you have time to look over the assignments and you can get started.